could digital currency put the banks out of business? This is the very interesting topics, and it concerns a lot of people lately. So today we're going to talk about this. Welcome to LATOKEN. We are very happy to see all of you, and today we have a very special guest, and we will come here right now.
You realize we have music on.
Yes. Hello, Thomas Melkin. How are you?
I'm fine. It's a long day in the blockchain space, but that's how it is. How are you? Also fine. Late time for you though.
Yeah, it's late time for me. But I mean, I usually like to discover, to analyze interesting things in blockchain space at this time.
Cool. So we have a very important topic today.
Okay. Yes.
Will cryptocurrency make banks go out of business?
Exactly. But before we start, can I ask you to introduce yourself to the audience? What you do?
Sure.
Please.
I've been a business entrepreneur for the last 2 decades or so. I've been involved in a lot of businesses, and I have done exits. I've also tried to lose a lot of money. I started adapting blockchain quite a while ago. Obviously studying crypto in the early days. What is Bitcoin? What does it mean? Stuff like that. And then I started to, it becomes an addiction because I kind of like the philosophy about crypto, decentralized world, cutting out the middleman. It had all the flavors and all the crisp that I really appreciate. However, nowadays it has become big business. A lot of people are making a ton of cash on crypto, and I'm more into what can blockchain in general do for businesses going forward, and obviously we need to have an exchange of value, which right now is crypto. I don't really like that you call, or not you, but that people in general call it currency, because it's not. It's a digital asset, and we use it to exchange values. But
yeah,
and nowadays I am the managing partner of 365 Agency. We help businesses get funded, and especially in the blockchain space. Sorry.
Cool. So before we start our show, actually we have one more guest who is going to join. His name is David. Hello, David. How are you? Welcome.
Good. Hey, Thomas. Good to see you again.
Hey, likewise. And it's not 4th of July today, but still, you're outside enjoying life. I love it.
I'm trying.
All right,
yes.
David.
Can I ask you, David, to introduce yourself, please, for the audience?
Absolutely. My name is David Towell. I'm the president of ProChain Capital. ProChain is a crypto-focused hedge fund. We invest in tokens, long and short. We invest in equities of companies that are public, both long and short, that are focused on, those companies can be focused on cryptocurrency. They could be focused on digital payments, general blockchain activity, so forth. And we also go ahead and invest a portion of our portfolio into early stage and venture-like investments. Essentially, the theme of the portfolio is to invest across the entire sector, regardless of the form of the investment, whether it be private, whether it be public, or whether it be in tokens.
Oh, great for your great introduction. Guys, friends, before we're going to go forward, please smash this likes. Please smash it. So we can talk, we can share our ideas and insights with you. Yes, today is the topic, could the digital currencies put the banks out of business? So let's start with Thomas. What do you think? Could they or not? And when? How far? How long should we wait for?
I doubt it. I mean, there will be I sincerely doubt it. I think cryptocurrency right now is still early days. Banks needs to, well, some banks are actually adopting crypto right now. I think all of them will be forced to do that going forward. I doubt it. I doubt that cryptocurrency will, make banks go out of business. David?
So I will agree with Thomas. I'll put a little bit of additional, I guess, my thoughts in terms of explanation. In a purely academic, theoretical, utopian world, those that argue regarding the importance and the strength of decentralized finance would certainly be true. I think, however, in the real world, to echo what Thomas has said, I think society is way too reliant on existing banking systems. I don't think those banks are going to entirely push against the tide here in terms of digitization. I think each one will accept it differently over time, but certainly they will all adapt to it. I think the regulators, certainly in our country, certainly I'd say broadly in the developed world, will make sure that banks do not, those institutions do not get taken out of the system. I do think that they are a way for governments to have some sort of economic and financial stability, be able to go ahead and in times that are very, very challenging and difficult, go ahead and stabilize matters as opposed to leaving everything to market forces. So I do think that, even with the people that, want the revolution of digitization to go to its furthest extent, I think they will all admit that at times of absolute panic, there is a good amount of value in the centralization of things. And so therefore, for all those reasons, I don't think we're ever going to get, at least in our lifetimes, we're going to get to a point where there is no banking system and everything has been essentially decentralized.
Actually, so you guys, what about DeFi? About all the staking, farming, so you guys trying to say that the banks are gonna ride the wave of DeFi? Because we can read the articles like yesterday, Swedish bank is gonna offer Ethereum 2.0 staking. Some banks are getting into DeFi. So you mean banks are gonna adopt this DeFi in their system?
Well, of course, because it's probably cheaper distribution for them. Nowadays, if you need to do a money transfer, it's costly and very slow. By cutting out the borderless economy can basically distribute whatever amount of money in 4.7 seconds. From A to B around the world. If you ask a bank to do that, it will cost you $1 gazillion. So they would need to adapt the technology, and the exchange has to be crypto. So the end user might transfer a US dollar, but in between there will be a crypto, and the receiver will convert it into a US dollar or stablecoin or whatever.
What do you think?
Yeah. So again, not to sound like Thomas and I are best friends, but I will agree with him, and I'll build on what he said. To me, some of the most exciting things that are happening inside of crypto is that large payment giants are using crypto internally, even if externally it's not being used. So Visa, PayPal, are transacting in crypto internally because of, as Thomas explained, efficiency, both in terms of time and in terms of cost. So certainly, those that are, don't have, blinders on are going to go ahead and adapt because it is a value add proposition. And, to go to the other extreme that, some may think that this is the banks and the existing financial system co-opting this decentralized, idea, we can all go ahead, and draw parallels to the internet, right? And when the World Wide Web was first created, it was really created for the idea of decentralization of distribution of information and services. And we know that private enterprise went ahead, and frankly, that private enterprise has increasingly amount of sovereign or federal legislation on it, right? We're constantly talking about that today in terms of, the giants in tech being regulated, right? So essentially, what started out as a decentralized idea, or an idea of decentralization, has become very much centralized. And I don't see why it's not going to happen in connection with, the digitization and decentralization of assets. I think there is an incredible amount of power to the technology. I think there is a lot to be said about breaking free, of governments. But on the other hand, legal and regulatory frameworks are helpful. They are important. We don't want to live in somewhat lawless societies. And so therefore, I think that there is going to be, over a long, long period of time, there is going to be, essentially a meshing of the decentralized ideas and the centralized structure that we have. And hopefully we will get to, a much, much better place than where we are right now or where we have been.
Okay, thanks for your insights. From my point of view, as I see how this whole DeFi section was developing, like a year ago, we had about 150 to $100 million TVL, total value locked in DeFi projects. Today we have, like, if you look at the DeFi pulse, we have about like 40 or $50 billion locked. You look at DeFi Station, Binance Smart Chain, we got about 20 or 25 billion total value locked. And I use DeFi, and I see, for example, some very stable and safe mining pools. For example, you can have like a UST Terra network stablecoin, USDT pair, gives like 40% per year API. You can have like other mining pools, the pairs which do not cause the impermanent loss. So basically, you are safe in this case. What would you say? I mean, because they give 40, someone gives 30 API, someone gives even more. This is why, in my opinion, I think banks should hurry to adopt these technologies. What would you add, or what would you say about my thoughts?
Yeah, but they are adopting very, very fast, and that's the reason why you see the increasement in value, because it is an exchange of value between financial institutions. Exactly what David said, and that will keep increasing, because it's much faster to adapt to distributing via blockchain than it is in the old school traditional banking circles of infrastructure. It's faster, cheaper, and more secure.
Yes, and it's decentralized, and
Yeah.
I don't know how it is going to be regulated seriously, because you gentlemen talk about regulations. I cannot picture how the regulation can come to the section. What do you think?
I think that these statistics are not going to last for a very long time, right? I mean, you went ahead and focused initially on the growth, right? From, I don't remember what the statistics were, from a few hundred million or a couple billion to 40, 50 billion. I mean, 40, 50 billion is nothing, honestly. If you look in terms of, general economic activity, private equity funds, trillions of dollars, of dry powder sitting around. Hedge funds, same thing. So to say 40 or 50 billion is nothing. It's a pittance. And then in terms of the arbitrage that exists, that's all going to collapse quickly. All these things are necessarily statistics of a very nascent asset class. You could look back, in the, emergence of other asset classes, and a lot of these imbalances existed, right? When someone first put on, the first default swap trade, or someone went ahead and structured the first, collateralized debt obligation pool, that type of stuff existed. All of a sudden, everybody sees it, everybody understands it, everybody gets that you can make it riskless, and everything, all those spreads, all that arbitrage collapses very quickly. So, while it's out there, sure, go out and get it. However, don't go out and get DeFi, right, when your platform is essentially contingent on lending to people on a 50-to-1 basis, right? You're going to get slaughtered, right? You can't, go that crazy. You can make good money, right? But don't be piggish, because that 50-to-1 should not exist. We all agree. There is no asset in the world that's levered that high. So you may make some money, for a good period of time, but you're collecting pennies in front of a runaway freight train, and you're going to get potentially run over if you don't get out in time. So I really don't pay much attention to that stuff. I've been around, at least I'm not that old, but I've been around for enough asset class emergences and waves, to know that, enough money and enough smart people, enough financially minded investors, will go ahead and wipe out those statistics fairly quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
Thomas, do you have anything to add?
No, I totally agree. So David is right. It seems like we're best friends here.
You got it, Thomas. I'm happy to have a friend across the globe. It's all good. That's why this asset class is unbelievable. I mean, I assume, Thomas, you're in Europe, correct?
Yeah.
Western Europe or Eastern?
I'm in Scandinavia, actually.
Oh, beautiful. Wow. Gorgeous. I've never been. I want to go. I'm a big skier, so hopefully we'll have reason to meet up in your part of the world. I'm in the East Coast of the United States. Abdelbek, where are you?
I'm in Almaty, Kazakhstan.
Okay, so there you go. So the greatest thing about this asset class is we can all get on, a meeting and literally talk the same language. You can't do that for any other asset class that I know of. Home values and home pricing is totally different across the world. Tax regimes are totally different all across the world. If I'm analyzing an automotive company in the United States, it's certainly not the same as analyzing an automotive company that manufactures in Scandinavia. There are so many differences in other asset classes, even interesting, like not necessarily regular way asset classes like litigation finance, where, winning a litigation here in the United States in terms of probability is a very different, set of metrics somewhere else in the globe. Timing is different, so on. This is the greatest, I think, honestly, and I think Thomas agrees with me because he's my friend now.
Yes, I do.
This is the greatest asset. It's transborder. Everybody gets it. We talk the same language all the time. It's really an unbelievable thing.
Yes, yes.
And it has the potential to change a lot of things around the world for the better. So you still have 1/3 of the planet who doesn't have access to banks. What should they do?
Right.
They have access to a cell phone. Rich or poor, it doesn't really matter. They have all access to a cell phone.
Absolutely. To me, that is the most exciting part of this. And I really do hope, in other words, people keep talking about it in terms of, banking the unbanked. I really hope that it happens in a very real way, because that will explode the asset class in an incredible way. I mean, people that are not only looking to make money, but people that are looking to make a difference in the world. Banking the unbanked and allowing people who have never ever saved, who have never ever borrowed, who have never ever been part of a financial system, to now be part of it. Again, their numbers may be small on an individual basis, but on a collective basis, it's enormous. To bring those people into, and that could be whole countries for all we know, whole regions, whatever it may be. But, to be able to do that and to do good for the world, like Thomas said, I think that will explode the sector. Explode. hopefully we're not at 100-to-1 leverage at that point, because unfortunately those people, will take that, right? They're novices. So hopefully we're not there. We're at a much more reasonable level, but providing those services to previously unserved, population bases, to me is the greatest thing.
Okay, thank you. You see, it's like,
and that is basically the reason why we need cryptocurrency.
Yes,
In different
exactly.
classes.
Exactly. Very interesting insights, I think, for the audience and for me personally. Because like, if we stick again to to the topic of our show today, I think one of the ways for bank not to go out of business is like work with CBDC, which will be coming out soon from in every country. Do you gentlemen agree with me?
Yes.
Please define the word soon. I don't think it's coming that fast in the United States.
I agree, and the same goes for Europe. But it's work in progress, and a lot of things are going on right now. So eventually it will arrive. There will be a lot of legislations and a lot of debating, and bankers will for sure do whatever they can on the lobby side. But it will arrive eventually.
But it's certainly, I'm sure that Thomas agrees with me that the CBDCs in no way are going to take over
Exactly.
cryptocurrencies. No way. They should be living side by side together. And frankly, in my opinion, the CBDC is really an interim step to true, crypto. Although the governments, certainly the most powerful governments in the world, are not going to want to let go, right? They're not going to want to see, Bitcoin becoming legal tender in their countries. But, I think it's going to happen despite whatever efforts, they may push against Bitcoin becoming legal tender. I think CBDCs is going to make governments comfortable that it can be done, and then it'll transition over to, Bitcoin or whatever other, independent cryptocurrency there may be at the time that will allow for more decentralization from the CBDC.
Yeah, and I think as soon as they realize this is still early days, as soon as they realize that this is programmable money, try to imagine what you can do with programmable money. So in terms of governments, instead of fearing cryptocurrency, they should embrace it, saying, okay, so what can we actually do with programmable money? Well, can we charge or can we receive VAT instantly? Yes, you can. Can we receive tax instantly? Yes, you can. So there are so many opportunities in savings if they do things right. Instead of saying, oh shit, now we have a cryptocurrency and we don't want, we need to be in control of the currency. Not necessary. Maybe you should be in charge of your local currency. But if you consider that this is programmable money, governments will be able to send gazillions of dollars or save gazillions of dollars if they understand what this is. I was in a call yesterday with a government official who basically thought that cryptocurrency were only for criminals, which to my surprise were, he was a part of the legislation. So when I was done with the call, I was very surprised. He was a very smart guy, but obviously he didn't really understand how this will affect the world. So if you only read about, early days and early adapters of Bitcoin, yes, there were criminals and there have always been criminal people. Nowadays, if you have a decent cryptocurrency and a decent blockchain, there's a KYC, so you need to identify yourself. So it is actually legit. And then we have tax issues. Very simple. It's programmable money. We can do whatever we want to.
Okay.
Yeah. So the tax issue, by the way, is a real issue. I mean, let me go back a second to what Thomas has said about government officials. As smart as they may be, as nice as they may be, as devoted as they may be, and I'm giving them a lot of benefit of doubt in saying all that, their ability to be smart on this is, I think, A, very challenging, and right now, B, very poor. The only thing that they really know, or they really think, like Thomas said, is that it's a great way for cyber attackers to extract ransom. And, you know, that's not particularly good. Thankfully, in the United States, we actually have a Securities and Exchange Commission with a number of people that are sophisticated and have gotten educated on the matter. So in the SEC here in the United States, we have two particular staff members, Gary Gensler, who's the chairman, and then we also have Hester Pierce as well. So that's very helpful. Obviously, the older the person is, the less likely, again, nothing against older people, but the less likely they are to be interested, educated, and so forth. But that's a very important, point regarding legislation. And then, the second point, forget it. I forgot. Thomas, what was the second thing? What was the last thing you said? Forgive me.
Programmable money?
I'm sorry?
Programmable money?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Taxes.
Tax,
yes.
yeah.
Tax.
So taxes, the fact that in El Salvador, there's not going to be any tax on Bitcoin gains is massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah.
If that type of legislation came to anywhere in the developed world, you would see a tidal wave of money go into Bitcoin. Right now in the United States, investment in cryptocurrency is taxed not at capital gains. So it's worse than holding equities for an extended period of time. It's worse than real estate, which gets 1031 exchange tax deferral. It's the worst tax treatment that we could ask for in the United States. It's taxed as ordinary gains, ordinary income, which is the highest tax rate we have, it's terrible, right? So right now, our government, through that regime or through lack of, in any way, adapting the current tax regime for cryptocurrency, is currently holding back an incredible amount of cryptocurrency investment. Forget about usage. Usage, it'll go. The development will go. I love the people in this industry. They are barreling forward without any care in the world, which is incredible, right? But in terms of the tax, if we get a change in taxes, and it's just going to take one nation in the developed world to trigger a domino effect, because every nation will be concerned. How many people are going to leave me and go to that jurisdiction, essentially, and be able to shelter their gains, right? We have it here in the United States and Puerto Rico. People talking about moving to El Salvador. But the truth is that once we get a developed nation that treats this asset class the way it should be, as opposed to penalizing it, I think we'll see massive growth.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks. I suggest to wrap it up by my quote to David's question when he said, "Please define soon." But if you look, for example, okay, David already mentioned El Salvador makes Bitcoin as a legal tender. Second, Chinese crypto yuan is already being heavily tested. They already in one province, they're already using it as a salary. So in my opinion, it might be like maybe within a year or maybe within 2 years. In the age, what would you think?
In governments that will not or cannot or whatever cannot get beaten up regarding privacy and First Amendment rights, right? Those governments will for sure adopt CBDCs, right? Because it's more power to them. It's more information to them. It's incredible. It's a great development in China. They want everybody to use CBDC because they can have more control and power over their citizens, more so than they've ever had. And actually, people are getting upset about El Salvador right now because they're going to give out $30 of Bitcoin to everybody, but that means you have to establish a wallet. If you establish a wallet, what does that mean? How much will the government know about you and how much will they use that data going forward, right? You can imagine a crazy world. I don't know if you've ever read George Orwell's Animal Farm, but effectively that is people's concerns. In the United States, there will be an uprising if they don't figure out how to protect personal rights before they start to go ahead and issue a CBDC in this country. And that's why I don't think it's coming anytime soon, because those civil rights attorneys and organizations that are focused on civil rights, they are not going to let this happen unless there is an incredible amount of certainty that this will not encroach on personal rights.
And in Europe, we have in Europe we have the GDPR. Well, same shit. I mean, there's no way that you can execute that on the current terms. We need security surrounding this before it will arrive. So I won't put a bet on this, but it will take a couple of years.
I hope things go well in El Salvador. That's the best test case.
Yeah.
China's a mess. They've decided to be a mess. They've thrown all the mining out of the country. They want to go ahead and clamp down on all sorts of regulations. They're actually now, we're at war with them. We being the United States is at war with them in terms of economic / financial investments, right? We're having all sorts of issues now with China regarding Chinese companies listing on the U.S. stock exchanges. So, relations generally in this part of the relationship between the U.S. and China are pretty icy right now. They're pretty cold. So, anything that China does, I don't frankly think has much of an effect on the United States. To the contrary, if any effect it has, it's going to be a contrary effect. In other words, the U.S. is going to act in polar opposite to whatever China does. So to me, El Salvador is the best test case. And by the way, let's just make it clear for the audience, the current currency in El Salvador is the US dollar. They don't have a native currency. This United States dollar is their currency. If Bitcoin can exist in parallel with the US dollar in El Salvador, who's to say it shouldn't be able to exist with the US dollar in parallel anywhere else in the world, including the United States?
Agree.
Okay. Because as we remember, China is the first one who invented paper money. Then they had the Mongolian conquerors. They established the paisa thing, which is kind of a credit card, basically the metal thing which you can show to anywhere in the cities, and you can get the shelter, food, and whatever you needed. And especially when Paraguay maybe is about to announce it, maybe Tanzania is gonna make Bitcoin a legal tender. But according to David, there will be no Fed coin this year.
No, in the United States, no way. But to go back to your point about Paraguay, I think all of Latin America needs this. I have other business down in Latin America, particularly Argentina. Since we're not on broadcast TV, I can say it's an absolute shit show down there. The instability from governments, the devaluation of currencies, people don't know. People want to get their money out of countries, plow it into the U.S. They need this more than anything. The instability of the governments, the ability to keep governments in check, is really very much helped by cryptocurrency. It really allows the citizens, to at least have a voice, in the value of what it is that they take from goods and services that are provided, as opposed to leaving it in the government's hands and finding out, overnight, oh my God, my currency was devalued by a third, a half, whatever it is. That's unfair.
Yeah.
So Thomas, so you agree too, there will be no CBDC in Europe within the next 2 years?
Yes, totally. I think it will take at least 5 years, to be honest.
High five, Thomas. High five, man.
Okay, then.
Listen, at the end of the day, the central banks decides the value of whatever currency is in your country. Now, it's only valuable to me if I can exchange it for goods, food, stuff like that. Same goes for digital asset. It doesn't really matter whatever the device you might have. If we all agree that this represents $100, then it's worth $100. So
Yeah.
I think for cryptocurrency, it will explode. There are more than 7,000 different currencies out there right now. A lot of them will disappear, and there will be some stable coins that will do rock and roll.
Okay. Thank you very much for today's show. You gave us very good insight.
Thanks, guys. Talk
So
soon.
yes, see you
Bye.
later, everybody. Please smash the like button. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.